If you own a condo in Vancouver or you have been sitting on the sidelines waiting to buy one, the government just made a move that changes the math for you, and almost every headline you have read about it is getting it wrong. The number everyone is reacting to is the $3.2 billion, a plan to take more than 2,200 empty condos and turn them into affordable housing. And the way it is being packaged is that the government is going to ride in and buy up all the unsold units. Now it gets a little bit more uncomfortable when you look at the inventory behind it, because according to the CMHC, we are now sitting on the most finished unsold condos this region has had since the mid 1990s, up about 76% in a single year, which tells you that the units are not the problem, the prices. And here's the part nobody is saying out loud. The government is not actually buying these condos, at least not in the way the headlines want you to believe. And once you understand what they really are doing, you're going to see exactly who gets rescued here and who quietly ends up paying the price for it. My name is Kyle Mark. Thank you for being here. And if you enjoy these videos, give it a like. If you want to get subscribed to the channel, our goal is to get to 5,000, and I would very much appreciate that. If you're looking to make a move in the city of Vancouver, that is where we work, and you can book a call with me in the link in the description. At the end of the day here, this is not a supply story, no matter how many times it gets sold to you as one. The supply already exists. Those condos are built, they're standing empty, and the keys are cut for those units. And this is really a price discovery story, and that is a very, very different thing, and it is a thing that almost nobody in the industry wants to say in front of a camera. I'm going to walk you through three things today: what actually got announced versus what got reported, why they are doing this right now in Vancouver of all moments, and the question that matters most, which is who actually gets bailed out and who quietly pays for it. And make sure you stick around to the end, because I'm going to give you the one question you can ask that tells you whether there is a real floor going under this market or whether you're about to catch a falling knife and it costs you nothing to ask it. So let me start with what was actually in the package, because the headline and the fine print are two different things. The housing piece everybody's reacting to is $1.6 billion from the federal government, matched dollar for dollar by the province, which is how you get to that headline number I opened with of $3.2 billion. A big chunk, and that is aimed at development charges. Those are the fees a city loads onto a new building to pay for water, sewers, roads, and all the stuff underneath the neighborhood. And the plan is to cut those by as much as 50% in priority areas, which works out to be around $40,000 a unit. And then there's the part that actually matters for the condo market, where Ottawa and the province say they're going to partner through Build Canada Homes and BC Housing and use what they keep calling innovative financing tools to convert those vacant units into affordable homes. Now here's the thing, when Mark Carney landed in Vancouver and described it, he did not actually say the government is cutting a check and buying these towers outright. The language was that they will use the right financing mechanism so that these units get converted and people can move in. And that gap between buying them and financing somebody else to buy them is the entire story, and it is the thing I want you to hold on to, because the models do not even get released until the fall, which means anyone telling you they know exactly the shape of this is just guessing. And that brings me to number two, which is why they are doing this right now. And you have to understand how bad it has gotten on the construction side for any of this to make sense. The pre-sale market, the engine that actually gets new condos built in this region, has basically seized up. According to Ultras, pre-sale sales are down around 60% year over year, off already a weak year, and the whole region saw only about 60 project launches in the past year, which is one of the slowest stretches we have had in more than a decade. There are multiple projects around the city that are just sitting in a drawer, fully designed, fully costed, and there's no point of launching them because the pre-sale buyers simply are not there. When the people whose entire job is to build housing are choosing not to break ground, that tells you exactly where the confidence is right now. And the units that got built during the good years are now just stacking up, and depending on where you look at it, it gets lopsided. Burnaby and Richmond alone are carrying close to half of the empty stock in the region, and obviously these were not all luxury towers full of foreign money the way the story usually gets told. A lot of them are ordinary buildings that were priced for an investor who was banking on rents and appreciation that never showed up. And that is the real tension here, because if these places were actually priced for a person who wanted to live in them, they would already be sold or rented. The fact that it takes government financing to move them in this market is telling you the price was wrong. And I want to be careful here, because that is not me cheering for anybody to lose money. It is just what the data is saying. Number three, and this is where people get the wrong idea. None of this is new and none of it is unique to BC. This is basically the Ontario playbook running again right on schedule. Ontario did this first. They stood up a provincially backed fund. They partnered with a private capital group buying unsold condos in bulk at deep discounts. And then a couple weeks later, they expanded HST relief and put up an enormous infrastructure program tied to cities cutting their development charges. If you watched that happen in Toronto, you knew this was coming to Vancouver. It was just a matter of when, and the mechanics are pretty consistent. There are really three ways a thing like this gets done. The first is equity sponsorship, where a big pool of capital, a fund, a family office gets created or encouraged to come in and buy the units. The second is repurposed financing, programs through the CMHC that hand out the lowest rates and the longest amortizations in the market. And that long amortization piece is a quiet hero here because stretching a mortgage out over 40 or 50 years drops the monthly payment enough that a unit which made no sense suddenly cash flows. And the third is the government stepping in directly as a buyer, the lender or the guarantor. What I think is most likely, and this is from watching how Ontario actually unfolded, is not the government showing up on title for 2,000 condos, because that is a very hard thing to sell to a voter in Saskatchewan who is wondering why their tax money is popping up in a Vancouver condo tower. What is far easier to sell is the government quietly building the financing stack, lowering the costs, stretching the amortization, and taking some of the risk off the table so that a private buyer steps in first and the public just makes the deal possible. Same outcome, the overhang gets cleared, but the optics are softer. And that lands me on the fourth thing, the one that actually matters for you, who gets bailed out and who pays. Because there's a real argument for doing something here. I want to be fair to it. We genuinely need more housing. Leaving finished homes empty while people cannot find a place to live is not productive, and the development charges in this country have gotten genuinely out of hand. In some cities, the fees and taxes make up around a fifth of the cost of a new home, and that gets baked straight into your purchase price. And cutting those, funding the infrastructure properly, that part I am honestly fired up about. The problem is the rest of it, because if the public is going to step in, the public should be getting a distressed price, not paying a developer something close to retail and letting them keep their profit while the taxpayer eats the risk. The mega fund that have been buying this kind of distressed product are paying well below resale and way below the original pre-sale prices. And if government money is going to do the same thing, it should be buying just as well, with real long-term affordability locked in, not a short affordability window that quietly flips back to the market rent in a few years once everyone has moved on. And we have seen what happens when you protect the downside and leave the upside private. That is a lesson from 2008 in the States. You socialize the losses, you teach the next group of builders that if they make a big enough mess, somebody will come clean it up. The honest tension is that markets actually need their losses, not because anyone enjoys watching it, but because a loss is information. It tells a developer they built the wrong product, it tells a lender they were too optimistic, and it tells a city its fees and its timelines are out of step with reality. And if you step in too early and too generously, you mute that signal and you keep bad models alive that probably should have been repriced. I've walked enough job sites and read enough strata documents to know that a building tells you the truth about how it was built and who it was built for, and a lot of these buildings were built for a spreadsheet, not for a family. Now, where does that leave you? Because I do not ever want to just hand you a problem and walk away. Here's the honest read. This is a soft floor, not a rocket. The government has shown its hand every single time this market has wobbled, going back to the insured mortgages purchased after 2008, the mortgage deferrals during COVID. They step in and they are stepping in again. So the people calling for prices to fall to nothing are going to be just as wrong as the people who think this announcement is a green light to pile back in. The truth is in the calm middle, and the calm middle is where the smart money operates. If you are a buyer, this is the part you've been waiting for, because record unsold inventory means you finally have leverage, you can negotiate, you can take your time, and you can write a clean offer without 3 other people breathing down your neck. And a soft floor under pricing means you are less likely to be the one catching the falling knife. If you are a seller in a building full of unsold inventory, you need to understand you are competing against a developer down the hall who has government financing helping them move units. So your pricing has to be sharp and your homes has to show better than the empty box on the 3rd floor. And if you're an investor, the real opportunity is not the shiny presale, it is the distressed, already built product that these funds are circling right now, bought well, financed long in a building that actually works. And the one question I promise you, the question that tells you whether the floor is real or whether you're about to catch a falling knife on a specific building, here it is. Ask who that building was built for. Not the brochure, not the amenities. Ask whether the floor plans, the layouts, the price per foot were designed for a person who wanted to live there or an investor who needed the rent to pencil, because the buildings that were built for real people are going to absorb just fine with or without a bailout, and the ones that are built for a spreadsheet are the ones sitting empty, waiting for the government to engineer a buyer. And that single question separates the two, and it costs you nothing to ask it before you sign any contract. The whole thing really comes down to this. The public is not just subsidizing supply here. The public is absorbing the mistakes of a market that built for speculators instead of households. And whether that ends up being a smart rescue or an expensive favor depends entirely on the price they pay and the affordability they actually lock in. And we will not know which one it is until these financing models drop in the fall. And that is what I am watching, and that is the thing that actually tells the story.